Welcome back to CAMHSsteps Lead the Way podcast, and we're going to explore the realities of living in the UK. Many times we hear young staff or even older staff, mature staff coming and saying they can't make two ends meet, so they end up taking secondary employment. Why do we do that? Why do we take secondary employment when we're already stressed out with the first job? But the reality is we need to live, we need to work, and we want aspirationally to live comfortably. So recent data. And this is what we're going to do. We're going to do recent data to explain why it happens. Then we're going to look at the motivations as to why staff choose to do it. The fact is that most organizations don't employ people who have declared second. And then when they do declare second employment, they find their positions within those organizations a bit stagnant and stale. So we're going to look at 5 solutions that leaders in organization can do to help support and develop these people and keep them on board and keep them engaged in your services. Motivation is key. The main driver here is the fact that in the UK, and we're just going to look at single people today, but the data extrapolates to families as well. According to recent data, and I'll pop it up for you so you can see it, the salary needed for an individual to live comfortably here is around £49,000 a year in the UK. However, the average salary currently stands at approximately £34,000. And I keep hearing employment saying they're going to pass on candidates because they have a side job, or they won't sign a secondary employment declaration, or even if they do, they'll find out they're not going to be engaged in the service. And it's a similar story if you look across the US, where the most comfortable salary needed to live comfortably in the US is approaching $100,000 in many states. But here's the breaking news. Between 34,000 and 49,000, there's a £15,000 gap. And the newsflash is nearly everyone will have or should have a side job in the current economic climate that we're living in. Where I want to go with this is that employers need to understand that they don't control what somebody does in their own time. We can't do that. Okay, it's not fair on those people. We don't own the people. We pay a salary for a contracted number of hours they work. Most staff go above and beyond and work more than that even for you. So if you pay them 40-hour work week that the United Kingdom does, in the NHS a 37.5-hour contract, that is not enough because they're going to get an average salary of 34,000, the majority. And then you're asking them for full focus. And how can they focus fully if they haven't got enough money financially to make ends meet? The expectation that the staff work for you 24 hours a day because your business model, and I'm going to hurt you here, if your business model has failed and your business model is running on short staff, failing business, pushing your staff that do remain to work harder but for less money, that's not fair and that's not going to be sustainable. Your staff and your system will break down, whether that's a private sector or the public sector. No one should be available for you 24 hours a day. It's not fair. So just to summarize before we move on, the significant gap means people are going to struggle to live comfortably, which is an aspiration, on an average salary in the UK. So the reality is people will look for agency shifts. They will look to side hustles, businesses, entrepreneurship to kind of supplement their income. So here are the 5 reasons I think people do that. Why do people supplement? Why do people take on side hustles when they've got the stable job at hand? Number 1 is, as we said, supplementing income, the rising cost of living compared to basically inflation and the value of your every pound going down versus the average salary kind of not keeping up with that. People have to take on side hustles. And some people, the younger people, they are very creative. Some of them in the digital age, it's very simple to make a side hustle. Very simple to make a secondary income with little to no effort. There's always effort, but the longer you do it, the easier it is and the less hours you have to put into it. So this extra income can help for cover essentials, the rainy day, the emergency boiler repair, the emergency family emergency, and maybe it's something to put away for future goals. Sometimes they do side hustles because it's their passion, as I mentioned. It might be something they're really good at. I remember I met a staff member who was fantastic at art, and I really encouraged that person to try and get their art out for publication or for purchase from others because it was amazing. But that's a side hustle, and that could easily, again, turn into a fulfilling secondary career, or maybe eventually grow into a full-time career. Risky for us, but at least you've helped someone grow and get what they want out of this life. And it could be writing, it could be crafting, like I just mentioned, it could be consultation, it could be any hobby that they're interested in, it could be helping others, helping in their community. That's the number two. The third reason is sometimes your organization might not be building enough skills for these people. So they'd rather go and take on an internship where they're going to learn a new set of skills. I know many people who've gone into coding, computer coding, because the set of skills that they've been given at the workplace, they can see that there's a need, there's a gap, there may be digital skill deficit in their main job. So they'll go away, do a side hustle, perhaps on pennies even, just to get the skills, bring those skills back into their primary jobs, making it more valuable for you in the long run. Number four, I will re-emphasize it a different way, financial security. So this is not just about having money saved up for an emergency. This is not just about having a quick kind of emergency fund. This is having a certain income, because no job is guaranteed. Yeah, if you're a leader of your own organization, if you have to close, make people redundant, people have anxiety about that, and we need to make sure that that doesn't affect their performance at work. When people create a side hustle, we do so because we're trying to create what's called a financial runway. In case things break down, do I have enough money? I always go with my coaching aids and I say to people, find a little bit of saving that will get you through 6 months with no income and no employment. If you can do that, then you'll have ability to breathe and be comfortable in life. Don't spend the money, just leave it there. But for example, if your expenses minimal to get through is £1 a month, then you need to make sure that you save £12,000 over a course of time and leave that aside. And that will be your financial security. Maybe you want to then invest that, or whatever you do, go to a financial advisor. It's not what we're here for, but that's the reason that people do it. And the fifth motivation is, like as I mentioned at the start of this, it's just being entrepreneurial. Some just want to just start their own business, and they start to kind of like grow it from scratch. So maybe start with one or two things, friends and family get involved, and they build it up and it starts to scale, and then it starts to take a little bit of time. So this is how the business, and it's quite successful. And this transferable skill set will be available to your company, but you just need to know how to embrace it. So again, just make sure that you understand that people take on these side hustles, secondary employments, supplement their income, pursue their passions, build their skills, create financial stability for themselves, and fulfill some entrepreneurial ambitions that they have. That's the 5 reasons. Now, what are 5 reasons that you can do to stop yourself feeling that this is some kind of negativity, to feeling that staff are taking their interests into the workplace and taking stuff out of the workplace, and to stop you losing staff and to allow you to employ the best staff that you can? Embrace it. Number 1 is, I say, embrace flexible working arrangements. Okay, embrace it. When you do that, offer some flexible working hours, remote working options, and that helps employees not only balance their work-life balance, but their work balance. Okay, and if they can do that properly, it's art for a leader. When you lead the way, you become the artist in this, and then their side hustle can become more effective. They can thrive better, and they can thrive better in your workplace. Your job satisfaction goes up, and the ability to create loyalty from that member of staff increases exponentially. Number 2 is you start to recognize their transferable skills. So you take an interest in maybe their side hustle without incurring or professional boundaries, but those skills could become very, very valuable for your organization. You may even have to pay for them if they're very, very good skills that your organization needs, but you know you have a staff who's invested in your organization and will use those skills effectively. Encourage them to share the skills and consider how you can work with them to apply them within your organization. So what talks about, they go away and they learn things on their own. So you must be able to support their professional development. So you need to have a look at their appraisal. You need to have a look at what courses they want to do that may be benefiting their side hustle primarily, but could benefit you also. And then maybe give it some leeway. Maybe if there's funding, maybe there's time needed, work with them so that this can be a synergistic way of working. So you have to have the really long view, is that, well, this could help us in the future. So I'm going to give 20% of the time that they need to do the course to the staff as study leave. I'm going to fund it. I'm going to give a bursary of 20% to the staff so that they can do that. So I'm going to give 20% of the funding for their course so that they can bring those skills back into the organization. Number 4 is, again, be open with the communication. Sometimes we get cagey. Sometimes it leads to mistrust. Okay, so you have to be very transparent. If you have a secondary employment form, fill it with them collaboratively. Don't threaten them. Don't be suspicious about them. Try to make it as engaging and as authentic as possible, and use it as a way to kind of create these communication lines where training, where transferable skills can come part of your organizational value set, I would say. So don't think that communication is, as soon as you start saying, no, you can't do this, you should be, where have you been, it just creates distrust in the member of staff. You can't run your organization without good staff. And if this staff is so good that they can do your job plus something else they're passionate about, you're onto something very special, and you need to know how to nurture it. And number 5, which is the most important thing for leaders in the 21st century, we are not an industrial age workforce. We are a modern, perhaps digital, but most of all, we are outcomes-based workforce. Not hours worked, outcomes worked. Shift the focus from the number of hours worked to the quality of the outcomes of the work. Transfer, if someone has got a second, say to them, okay, we're not going to focus on your hours work so much. We're going to change the metrics to make sure that you've got quality outcomes, maybe quantity outcomes, but also quality outcomes for the work that you do. And then you invest trust into that employee, so then they can rearrange their time effectively and deliver your results and deliver the results of their own little side hustle over the amount of time that they need. You do need to look at the balance measures of this one, because as soon as you offer that, then other staff might be grumbly. They might not be so dynamic. They might reach a stage in their life where they don't need a secondary income. Maybe they've got their house, they've paid their mortgage, they're sitting, and then suddenly they're grumbly because someone else is getting liberties. So you have to have a look at a holistic kind of approach to outcome. For example, your work from home policies, your outcomes, your KPIs, not based on outcome. So it starts to change the organization, and then people who don't like it will leave, and then you'll keep the right people in your organization. Okay, and then you can buddy up where people are a bit suspicious of, oh, we're changing too much, and start to buddy up the dynamic with the not so dynamic. So to wrap up, just make sure that I feel it's crucial for people who want to lead the way to adapt to this changing landscape and work and recognize side hustles that are not a threat, but a big opportunity for you. Being more inclusive and supportive, because this normally comes from places of diversity of thought and diversity of skill. Employers can attract and retain really, really talented staff who'll be bringing different skills, maybe new skills to your organization, and it will be on your table, and you'll be able to have those conversations. And if you have a happy workforce, you're going to have a more productive one. If you have a fulfilled workforce, you're going to have a more loyal one. So thank you for tuning in to today's podcast. And I want you to leave your comments and your thoughts down below in the comments. Subscribe. Feel free to reach out. You've got our email. You've got our contacts in the comments and stuff like that. Until next time, take care and stay inspired.